A friend to all is a friend to none. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. A good character, when established, is not overthrown, and even when they have been completely perfected, they are still consistent. A life without festivity is a long road without an end. A little knowledge that acts is worth infinitely more than much knowledge that is idle. A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. A wise man speaks because he has something to say, a fool because he has to say something. All men by nature desire to know. An unexamined life is not worth living. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a harder battle. By all means, marry. If you get a good wife, you'll become happy. If you get a bad one, you will become a philosopher. Change in all things is sweet. Character is destiny. Character is what you do when no one is watching. Character, in the long run, is the decisive factor in the life of an individual and of nations alike. Courage is knowing what not to fear. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Difficulties in life are intended to make us better, not bitter. Eureka! Everything flows and nothing abides. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Friends are an ornament of life. Friendship is a single soul dwelling into bodies. Friendship is essentially a partnership. Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world. Good people do not need laws to tell them to act responsibly, while bad people will find a way around the laws. Happiness depends upon ourselves. Happiness is a choice that requires effort at times. Happiness is the meaning and the purpose of life, the whole aim and end of human existence. Happiness is the settling of the soul into its most appropriate spot. He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. He who is not a good servant will not be a good master. Hope is the only good that is common to all men. Those who have nothing else possess hope still. If women are expected to do the same work as men, we must teach them the same things. Ignorance, the root and stem of all evil. In a good book, the best is between the lines. In war, the first casualty is truth. It does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Justice means minding your own business and not meddling with other men's concerns. Know thyself. Live your life as an exclamation, not an explanation. Man is by nature a political animal. Man is the measure of all things. One of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. Quality is not an act, it is a habit. The aim of the wise is not to secure pleasure, but to avoid pain. The educated differ from the uneducated, as much as the living from the dead. The end is the crown of any work. The energy of the mind is the essence of life. The foundation of every state is the education of its youth. The greater the difficulty, the greater the glory. The greatest of empires is the empire over one's self. The greatest wealth is to live content with little. The heart has its reasons of which reason knows nothing. The heaviest penalty for declining to rule is to be ruled by someone inferior to yourself. The highest realms of thought are impossible to reach without first attaining an understanding of kindness and love. The just man is happiest, the unjust most wretched. The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. The least deviation from truth will be multiplied later. The only good is knowledge, and the only evil is ignorance. The only real wealth is the wealth of the soul. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet. The secret to humor is surprise. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. The soul takes nothing with her to the other world, but her education and culture. The strong do what they can, the weak suffer what they must. The unexamined life is not worth living. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The wise man does not expose himself needlessly to danger, since there are few things for which he cares sufficiently. Time brings all things to pass. Time is the most valuable thing a man can spend. Time is the wisest counselor of all. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. To do injustice is more disgraceful than to suffer it. To do the right thing is more important than to avoid doing the wrong thing. To find yourself, think for yourself. Virtue is harmony. Waste not, want not. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act but a habit. We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Wisdom begins in wonder. Wonder is the feeling of the philosopher, and philosophy begins in wonder. You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. You could not step twice into the same river.